here we are, another Bull of MLM Network Marketing Warfare podcast. If you're new to this, the purpose of doing these podcasts, why I started this is I was embarrassed in the network marketing profession for a long damn time. I got in it over 10 years ago, started with it. I didn't understand. I thought I was going to make six figures in my first 6 months, had no clue what I was doing, regurgitated the same emotionalism, hype, sensationalism crap that everybody did, and I didn't know what I was doing. I was also a cop at the time, and it was very embarrassing when I left law enforcement and I wanted to dive back into network marketing full-time, full profession-wise. It was embarrassing because people were like, oh, yeah, you're in sales and you're a pyramid scam guy. And so I wanted to understand the industry. The purpose of these podcast episodes is to bring on people who are professionals in their craft, and can give some integrity, help give us integrity back into a very, very, very shitty, misunderstood industry, a manipulated industry. We want to change it. I want to bring integrity back in this. I have Mike Manzi with me today. I want to read this because it's perfect, and I want to do justice for this. This is Mike Manzi. He's a 5-time head of sales with over 100 million sold after bringing multiple companies from $1 to $5 million to $10 to $50 million and growing sales teams in 6 continents. Mike has taken away key techniques, emails, scripts, and the processes that make any sales organization perform at a high level. Now averaging over 1 million views a week on his social media channels. We'll talk about that. Official sales tips, official sales leaders tips. He's building out an entire outboard lead generating machine and sales machines in 60 days for companies under 10 million to head with no head of sales. Mike, number one, I've been trying to get you on for a while. I actually put a ton of production on hold to get you because I think that this is the next step in where I've been going. Yeah, so I'm guilty on that one. I haven't done a podcast in about a month or two because this was the next step, the crucial sales aspect of this. So thank you for taking the time out. And man,
pressure is here. I'm happy to be here.
Great. All right, so we got to discuss this. The first thing I want to do is I want to talk about sales in a general aspect. What the hell is sales? Can you define that?
Yeah, so sales is you trying to move one person to do something that you want that person to do.
That's it.
That's it.
Wow.
That's it. I'm trying to move you to do something I want you to do. And then a lot of times, or like in a perfect world, we find people that already want to do that thing. And I'm simply a person who is assisting you in moving from here to here. And then in a more tougher outbound world, you're the one who's pushing that thought and getting someone to do something that you want them to do. What? So I say that and make it so vague because realistically, me getting my wife to want to go to dinner when she was like, oh, we can just eat here. I'm selling her on that idea, which is the same thing as me trying to get Amazon to, buy some major product that I have, right? So they're both selling, just at different levels.
I had a hard time with the sales concept in network marketing because we were under the guise of we want to change the world and we really want to help people, and it was so softened so that anybody and their mother could do it that it really failed me. It wasn't until the day that I was watching my mentors and all these people who were really good at whether or not they realized that manipulation and not influence, that I went, wait a second, I was the best salesman in the world. My job was to show up on scene and take you combative and talk you into handcuffs and make you think it was a great idea without any resistance. When I realized I've been selling my entire life, this is ridiculous, that's when things opened up for me. Why does sales have such a negative connotation? Why do people shy away from sales? Why do people kind of associate sales with like the 70s car salesman and all that? Why do we have such a bad connection to sales?
Yeah, because what at the end of the day, another way of thinking about sales is my job is to get you to part with your money. Now, a good salesperson and one with high integrity only wants people to part with their money if they believe that what they're going to give them will be worth exactly what they gave or more, right? Like I don't care to take someone's money if I know in exchange they're going to get so much value. And in fact, for what I offer, I always offer half the money back if things don't work out even if they do work out, but you need the money back, no sweat, because I want to get rid of that fear that you're just trying to get me to part ways with my money. And I think the other is the idea of sales is manipulation. And I think that there's a fine line between manipulation and persuasion. And I think one just has a connotation of, nefariousness, and one doesn't. So, but it still feels like a black box. It feels as though if someone is selling to me, they're doing something tricky to my mind. They become a hypnotist. But imagine a hypnotist who was trying to get you to part ways with your money. You'd be very afraid of talking to the hypnotist. And even though that's not what we're doing, people feel like we're going to have some control over them and therefore are nervous about it. And they also, I think really realistically, people just don't feel like our intentions are to have their interests aligned, which for a lot of sales reps, they don't. And it's challenging if you're if you have an incentive to have someone part ways with their money, but there's no incentive to say only make people part ways with their money if the product you're going to give them is going to help them, then you do have like a misaligned incentive. So I've seen compensation plans that can help with that, where if someone wants their money back or has a bad experience or whatever, you get clawed back, and that actually will align you to have that same experience with customers.
One of the reasons I wanted you on was when I wanted to start sharpening my skills and translate it into, network marketing and actually selling product. I started looking online like crazy, who's a sales trainer, who's this. And obviously I go back to Jordan Peterson or Jordan Belfort all the time.
Sure.
Like his stuff. He's no nonsense. When I came across your content, I'm going to put you in the same category as him because of the energy that you give off. When I started watching your TikTok, your all your content, I was like, this is a genuine person who is no bullshit, but you're not like that hardened no bullshit. You actually care what comes across in what you're putting out there. How did you get involved in sales? And then why did you feel this pull to teach? And I know what makes you stand out as a leader in the sales industry, but what do you think makes you stand out as a leader in the sales industry?
I really appreciate that. I mean, I wouldn't put myself in the same category, but I think that what we do have in common is, it's no bullshit. And I think what he talks about and what I talk about a lot too is just, how do I simplify this? Like, let's not talk about high level Sandler or methodology. Like, what is the phrase I should say? Is there a tone I can use that will allow me to become more, have more authority in my talk, in the way that I talk? So that we do have in common. And I think that that's one of the reasons that I've been successful on social platforms in particular, because I think that that's what we crave more. I mean, people that are my father's age, they prefer like a book and they want to read the 300 pages. And I think people that are my age, they want the bullet notes. They want the spark notes, right? Now, how I got started in sales, my father was in sales and he owned a small fastener company. And I got most talkative in high school, and I was like runner up for loudest and class clown, that kind of stuff. So I had like the stereotypical personality of a sales rep. And so I felt, this is what I should be doing. I should go into sales. And so I started at a company where I was selling the international trips to high schools. So the Spanish teacher wants to take all the kids to Spain or Mexico. I was the person who sold that trip. Within a few years of selling, I started finding that I had little systems that other people just didn't have. How do I make sure that I'm making the right amount of outbound phone calls? And how do I make sure that I can close my deals? And how do I approach them in a way that every month I'm a little bit more consistent? And other people didn't have that. And other people didn't have the tones that I would take on calls quite figured out. So I started being like a go-to guy for questions. And it feels really good when you help somebody out. Like when someone comes to you and says, dude, I did that and I closed it or whatever, you're like, that's it. I don't need drugs. This is the best. So that's how I got started. And then I was given a team that I was unqualified for to manage. And then I was only there for a short period of time. So I tried the startup thing, went to another company as a sales rep, took another team I had absolutely no business managing and was terrible as a manager. And then over the next couple of companies became better and better at leadership and ultimately got to the point where I had 30 people underneath me in all these different continents and building businesses. Now, the last 2 years I've been taking what are those systems, what are those templates of things that you can do that I can print and do all over the world, ideally, right? So why I think I've been successful is simply my brain is wired like a lot of people's brains, which is to like look through the bullshit and just go, what's the phrase, what's the tone, what's the 20% that I can do that will leverage the other 80%. And by being able to do that and then do it at multiple places, I've been able to see not only what are those little things that make a big difference, but also which of those little things that make a big difference are work ubiquitously, regardless of company size, product, your country.
One of the biggest problems I have is you're just describing sales teams is in network marketing. And it's a horrible industry that, it's my profession, but it's a horrible industry because we have people who try to pitch and close and recruit without saying, yeah, this is sales. And when a person gets in and doesn't understand that they're going to have to do some of the most uncomfortable things, which is ask people or influence them or lead them to buy a product, you get then the perpetual, oh, I got scammed into X, Y, and Z. Do you have any experience in the MLM industry? And I kind of want to talk about the team leadership you went through, because that's the number one problem people have in this industry is you can get in, you could sell a product like crazy, but then they all talk about duplication. And it seems
scaling.
3% success rate in duplication. I don't know if you have any experience in that. And what is your criticism of the industry?
Yeah, I mean, so a lot of questions there. I do have experience in the MLM space, not from my own, but one of my customers sells presentation software that everyone in the network marketing space should get. It's called iDecide. It's incredible. Basically, the ability to make a presentation that's automatically personalizes to the person you're selling to. So instead of you having to do a big presentation in front of 100 people and find those 100 people, get them into a group, you could send this presentation to 100 people and they can all see it, and it's all personalized to them just like you would want it to be. Now, that's the crux of my experience with it. I think that my criticism of the space is the incentive. There's no weight. How do I say this? The incentive is not weight. It's not balanced. There's an incentive to bring people on, but there's no incentive to make sure that they're the right people. If you're selling Herbalife or whatever, and you get someone to buy $10,000 of product, but they can't push it, you still make money, and that person's screwed. And in like the software space, if I sell you a product and it doesn't work, you're not going to renew or you're not going to pay. And as a result, I'm not going to get paid, or I might get fired because I'm selling something I shouldn't be selling in the first place. So you need that counterweight to keep the integrity of the salespeople alive. Now on the sales team side, their replicability, let me tell you, if you ever want a human to do something that if you need a human to do something that's different from what they're doing today, there's three things that you need. You need clarity, you need follow-up, and I'm now blanking on the third one. I feel like Rick Perry. But you need clarity, follow-up, and support. Okay? So the first is, if I want you to mow my lawn, I need to be like, hey, here's the lawnmower. This is the lawn. Here's how you turn it on. Here's exactly how you do it. Is this clear what I'd like you to do? Okay, can you do it now? And just so I can confirm you know what I'm talking about, great. I am clear. You are clear on exactly what your task is from the beginning to the end and what it includes completely. So now it's clear. If it wasn't clear, you'd be like, oh, can I do it? Am I doing it right? The next is follow-up. So people only do the minimum they feel like is required in order to succeed in whatever that success is. So if I say to the lawnmower guy, hey, mow the lawn, and he kind of like does it wicked fast, and so it doesn't cut all the blades of grass, he's like, whatever, we're good. And if he comes back the next week and I'm like, good job, and then he doesn't come back for 3 weeks and I don't say anything, he's like, okay, he's going to pay me every week anyways. I'll just come every 3 weeks. He'll do the minimum that's required. So when you follow up with somebody, every time you're following up, you're saying, this is serious. This is really important. And it stays top of mind. So that's the second thing. So if it's clear, but it's not followed up on, I'm not going to do it. And then the final thing is support. So you need to actually help people do this, whatever it is. So it needs to be clear how to do it, but you also want to make it easy. So I'm going to show him like, hey, let me hold the lawnmower with you and do it with you. And, oh, you messed it up last time. Let me show you how you can make it better. So if you're missing any of those three things when you want a person on your team to do something, they're not going to do it. They'll do it for a short period of time because you didn't follow up. They'll do it wrong because you didn't make it clear. They won't do it right and will continue to do it wrong because you didn't make it easy.
Does that take a certain type of person that we should look for as sales teams? Because as you're saying this, the one thing I've noticed in today's generation is it's so easy to just sit there and have them go, no, I don't care, and then find something else. There's lack of apathy. I go back to my head.
Sure.
You know, I was some of the things that made me where I am today was my competitive wrestling days. And I look at, I had a coach yelling at me. They would verbally abuse us, put us through hell, this and that. And I wasn't getting paid for it. It was school. So I could have left the team anytime I want. Why did I stay in that? What was I getting out of that? Was I getting the wins? Was I getting the good boy pat in the back? What was it doing for me for that? And as I go forward too, I look at the professions I was in. You know, I worked in a bar industry where, you know, we have a similar background with class clown. I think that must be an Italian thing. But I worked for a Greek who was just scream at us like crazy, and people would go, why do you take this abuse? And I would go, because I work in a great environment that makes X amount of dollars a friggin' night. It's awesome. You know, law enforcement, sergeants are assholes. I guess my point is I willingly took the abuse because I liked the pressure testing that built my character, that made me better at things. You put pressure on people today, they fold. Every time I go to a network marketing event or I listen to training, it's, I believe in you. Oh, I believe, all you got to do is believe in yourself. And I would go, you're telling a room full of grown 30, 40, 50-year-old people that you believe in them until they believe in themselves. There's something seriously wrong there. But that's what our industry is. We prey upon almost the people who are looking for some type of acceptance. Can we change them into people who you'll say, hey, this is how to mow the lawn. These are my expectations, this and that. Most people will go, I didn't sign up for this. You can go find somebody else. Can we take those people and influence them to a level that we would want? Or do we really need to start changing the way we look and find people who we need with us?
Totally. Great question. I get this all the time. So first, if you look for people that will be like you and me, who like that pressure, something I look for are people who have had major adversity in their teenage years, because they had to grow up. They didn't have that time frame when you're handling adversity, but you have a huge support network. If you have like this perfect family, perfect like whatever, that's how you grow up, right? Like you're like, oh, I had a great support network. So whenever I handle adversity, I can only handle so much without other people helping me, and I'm not as able to do it on my own. But if you're handling a lot of adversity in that time frame and you don't have that support group, then you realize you have to handle it yourself. And so that creates a little hardened shell. Obviously, I don't wish upon anybody to have to go through adversity at all, but I have also found that those that have done really well. I think they did some study too that was like, of all the presidents in the last like 200 years or something, like what was like the one thing they had in common? And I think the one thing was they all had a sibling who was in jail. So they had to go through some adversity, and they also were like, I don't want to do that. And so anyways, that's that side. But what we're talking about here, so we're talking psychology a little bit, and I'm not a psychologist, but here's what I found. The yelling and screaming, we like that because what they're saying is, my expectation is this high, and I'm going to yell and scream at you. But if you hit it, if you do, and you get an attaboy, it's worth 10 times more, right? So you're like, come over here and get that attaboy. It's going to feel really, really, really good. Now, how do we do that in a softer way? Because every generation likes to be treated differently. I'm totally fine with it. So for them, what I believe is actually the best way is you go, I don't know if you'll be able to accomplish this. I don't know if you can do this. Because what we're doing is we're then inviting them to do it. And they're saying, and what we're saying to them is, and if you do that, you're going to get an attaboy. So before, the boss was like, you're an idiot. You can't do this. You guys are all dummies. So you did it. You got an attaboy. Now we got to go, I'm not sure you can do this. It's going to be really hard. The translation of that is, you're an idiot. You can't do it. Come get it. You suck. But I'm saying, I'm not sure you're able to do it. This one's really challenging. But in either one of those situations, what the person is hearing is, I'm being challenged to do something. If I do that, I will get an attaboy that is really, really valuable. What I think we do too often is like that we believe in you. Because what we're doing there is I'm actually saying, you're going to be great. You're awesome. So now I haven't done anything yet. And it's like, just if I do amazing, you already think I'm amazing. So if I do amazing, I get nothing. You're like, I told you, you're amazing. No attaboy. Where if I instead go like, I don't know if you guys have it in you to do it. Then the people who are like, I might have it in me, they're like, I'm willing to do it. So I actually think just softening the actual language, but saying effectively the same thing, which is this will be hard, is what gets someone to move up. Now, there are people that are afraid to do hard things. So for them, what you want to be doing is saying this is going to be hard, but you have a community, you have these resources. If you can't do it, now is the time. The most important thing in your life to do for anything is pushing yourself. So maybe this is the thing you want to push yourself to do. Maybe it's not. In that language of what I'm saying, I'm making it their choice. You don't have to do this. And so I'm almost making it scarce. This is not for everybody. And this is going to be hard. And I don't know if everybody's going to succeed at it. That means if I do it, I'm special. And if I do it well, I'm very special. So if you instead go, I believe in you, you can all do it. Now it's like, if I do it, I'm not special. And if I do it really well, I'm just regular. So that's what I think we should be doing.
Modifying your approach as a leader. One of the problems that I openly have is I come from just, if you were told to do it one way, you do it. And there's no ambiguity in what I'm saying or what the person's telling me. Oh, I got to get it done. And I like that. I appreciate that. I like black and white. What I've seen over the last several years of growing teams is I'll start with a team of 10, 20, and then I'll always dwindle down. I don't have the hard, there's very rare times I go do it my way or I'm not going to work with you. And that usually takes several times of me with the carrot and the stick until I don't get what I need. Is there a danger? This is the crossroads I'm at. I can take a group of 10 or 20 people and in the network marketing space constantly feed their needs to be accepted, right? Because in network marketing, it's either culture and community or the product itself or the money we make. And most people are in there because they want to have, it's why it's mostly women, right? Because they want that loving energy of community and all this. The danger I find is that unless you're so open about saying, yeah, you're going to come together every X day during the week, we're going to talk about our feelings and this and that and blah, blah, blah. You're not going to make money, but you're going to be part of a community. Unless we address that, you get most people who they don't make any money in network marketing, but I'm still making money because I'm feeding your needs of being part of a group. I can't do that in my mind. I haven't been able to do that because I want the people who are going to make a ton of money. And I know I'm going all over the place. I'm forming a question as I think here.
Sure.
The problem is that pressure that I would want somebody to attain, to go out and sell and grow and pitch and succeed. It's so damn hard when most of the people who are successful in the network marketing space are just the Pied Pipers. They're the people who they meet the needs of the people, which is ego feeding, connection. Hey, I'm having a bad day. Can you listen to my problems? You become a psychologist. Is it, well, if you're in this profession, you can make a good amount of money selling hardcore, doing all this, or as a network marketing leader and a sales professional, you got to change your mindset and maybe you have to cater to the masses and start being a little bit more kumbaya-ish and feed the people. They're not going to ever reach a level you will, but you're going to have to dumb down your methodologies and change your ways, and you'll make a lot of money. As trainers, what is there, and I know this may be individual, here's ultimately my question. Should we compensate who we are, what we want to do, and what we want to achieve for the income's sake, right? And blanket everybody out there and be soft and nice and exhaust ourselves in meeting Susie's needs and Dave's needs and this and that? Or can we, in 2023, harden the fuck up and say, Mike, you have to call 5 people a day, end of story. You told me you wanted to do this. I can't spend any more time working with you. This is my way or it's done. Is one way antiquated and now we're in a day of social media, you got to get likes and follows and just cater to everybody? Or is that old school way still applicable? Or is it a dinosaur methodology?
Yeah, so it's one way, But I'm gonna teach you the coaching method that I think will solve some of the challenges that you're mentioning. Now that said, if the same way that like as a wrestler, you responded well to your coach who was like that, there might have been another wrestler who was on the team that did not like that and actually became a worse version of themselves. So that wrestler, if they could choose their coach, should be like, I don't want to be in a team with that kind of manager, that kind of coach, because I won't respond well to that. And the same thing is true in reverse. If you're the kind of coach who's like, I'm going to yell and scream, you need to, and you're like, that's how I am, and I'm not going to change, which is okay. Choose your own method. Then you got to be like, so therefore I can only have kids on my team who are going to respond well to that. So they're the same way that there are certain types of customers that are good for your product and certain type of customers that are not. The same thing is true on your team, because effectively your team are your customers in a lot of ways. So I would first say if someone is like, I'm hard one way or hard the other way, I'd be like, then only hire people that respond to your way or the other way. Now, that said, the way that you get people to motivate people is not going to be through pressure, but it's going to be or external pressure. It has to be through internal pressure. And so there's a couple things that I recommend that people do. The first is setting super clear expectations. So this is what happens if you do well. This is what happens if you do not do well. And I have those things ideally based on outputs, but in some cases, inputs. So for you, for example, it might be like, I need you to make 10 calls a day, let's say. And if you don't make 10 calls a day, you're not going to be successful. So when the first person is brought in, they're like bright-eyed, they're open to whatever. And you go, here, listen, here's the deal. If you make 10 calls a day, here's what's going to happen. Make 20 calls a day, here's what's going to happen. 30 calls a day, here's what's going to happen. If you make 5 calls a day, I'm going to talk to you. If you make 5 calls a day and then you start, after I talk to you, you still make 5 calls a day, I'm going to tell you I'm probably not interested in working with you. If you make 5 calls a day, then I tell you I don't want to work with you, then you still make 5 calls a day, I'm going to stop working. When you say something like that up front, it makes it clear the boundaries of their role, and you're not yelling at them to do these things. You're simply stating, this is what good looks like, this is what bad looks like. You can make your own choice. And you'll see the consequences of your actions won't be me yelling at you. It'll be me, I decided here I'm going to talk to you, or me firing you. Okay. So that's the first thing. You need to outline what happens when you do good, what happens when you do bad. But most importantly, let's talk about the coaching method. When you coach somebody, this is not training. When you coach them, you want to collaborate on a goal, collaborate on a plan, collaborate on a milestone, and then offer support. So I'm going to say, hey, Timmy, what do you want to do? Make $100,000. Great. What's a good plan that we can put in place to make you make $100,000? $100,000, $1,000 a person. I need 100 customers. Great. How do you get 100 customers? Got to make 10 calls per customer. Great. So you got to make 1,000 calls. Sounds good. Okay, I'm glad that you have your plan. Make 1,000 calls. So let's now figure out what the milestone is, which in your case is the milestone, meaning a quantitative thing. You make 1,000 calls, you get 100 customers. Cool. So now Timmy decided it was 1,000 calls. I did not decide that. We maybe I had to coax him into that. Oh, 1,000 people. I don't really know. Okay, well maybe it's calls, emails. I could coax him to getting to like an actual hard plan, but he's coming up with the plan. And then I go, okay, cool. So I'd like to offer you some support. If you're not making 1,000 calls, if you're not making 10 calls a day, should I follow up with you? If you're not doing 100 posts on social media, if that's what you guys decided as a plan, can I follow up with you? Can I give you a call script? So now you can build in how you're going to follow up with these people. For example, I've done this where people want to get better at email. And I'm like, okay, can you BCC me on every email you send, and I'll give you feedback. And you will know that you're good at email when I'm no longer giving you any feedback. And now as a manager, what I really want is I'm like, I just want to fix your freaking emails. But if I said to you, Tom, you suck, your emails are terrible, send every email to me. Tom's like, you suck, get out of here. Instead, I'm like, Tom, you want to get better at sales? Yes. How can you do that? Well, email is part of it. Okay, maybe make better emails. Yeah, I think I'll make better emails. Great. Can you send them to me and I'll help you? Yes. And now it becomes their idea. So if this works because you're working on someone's motivation. So if the beginning goal is I want to feel good about myself, then that's the goal. I want to feel good about myself. How do you feel good about yourself? I make 100 sales, and you can bring it back to what you want to do, but you need to start with a goal that they care about and a plan that they believe in, not yours. And then just have like a third party item that you're saying, oh, based on our numbers here, you are going to get fired.
So we're actually looking at something that's counterproductive and counterintuitive with network marketing is, the wide and deep aspect of it. What you're saying is it's okay to focus on a few and grow with them instead of blanketing to the many, which is sadly what network marketing does. It goes out there and you want to cast your net wide, get everybody in, and then you're going to deplete your availability for all. You just recruited 10 people this month, and now you got to spend time with all 10 of them. How are you going to do that?
Yes, and actually this brings up a really important matrix that I use constantly. It's the 9-box matrix, and what it is the y-axis is potential, low potential, medium potential, high potential, and the x-axis is low performance, medium performance, high performance. And so you can say, hey, I got someone who's really high potential, but this month they did bad, or someone who's really low potential, but this month they happen to get a random big deal or something. And what you do is basically anybody who's in the top right, high potential, high performance, you want to spend more time with them. You want to offer them more support, give them just love, pats in the back, or incentives, or whatever. People that are at the bottom, you want to remove them because they're just going to be time suckers. And then people that are sort of in the middle, they're either their potential is high, but their performance is low. Potential is medium, but the performance is medium. Potential is low, performance is high. People that are in that middle spot, those are the folks you want to be coaching. So if you can say I got 100 people, and I got my A's, my B's, and my C's, you dump your C's. Now you have way more time for your A's. Your A's will do way more than if you bumped your C's to B's, whatever do. And you go to your B's and you coach them. And so some become A's, some become C's, you drop your C's. And there's Alex Hormozy on TikTok always mentioned this, and I can't agree more, which is overpay your top performers. Like just overpay them because they're going to do so much better than turning your B's into A players. A universal truth that I found is that in any number, it goes like this. First place looks like this. Second place looks like this, and then third and everybody else goes down. Like with American defense spending, we spend a zillion. The next one spends 1/10 of that, and it kind of goes down from there. Top reps in your team. One guy in the team does a bunch. The next person down does like a quarter of what that guy does, and it goes down from there. So if you can spend more time with that one guy who's bringing in 30% of your revenue and get him to bring in 5% more, you're going to get a lot more than turning those other folks into B players.
I got Mike Manzi on today. It's official sales leader tips on Instagram is where I want to find him. Massive page over there, and all on social media as well too. I had a damn great question. Shit, what the hell did I have a question on? I can't say when I do that. Kind of cutting bait when. Oh, hell, man. I don't even, you were talking about something in my mind when, I could identify so many damn problems, which was fantastic. And you can get more comfortable.
But so either I was talking about 9-box matrix, top reps, bottom reps. So maybe we can go there, or we can shift to a new topic, social media, anything you'd like.
We can. I do want to talk about the craze of where 2020 hit and everybody went home and everybody and their mother's a sales person now. Do you see danger in everybody being an affiliate marketer or everybody doing now social media selling? Do you see this going into a danger and it's going to be such a saturated field, or is it necessary and this is the new way of doing business? We're all selling things online.
People are always going to want to get other people to give them money for something. Dinosaurs today, in the future. What everybody being online is doing is it's speeding up the pace of buyers. How do I say this better? But people, because so many people are now in sales, buyers are becoming smarter and smarter faster. So 20 years ago, if you saw a display ad, you were like, holy cow, an ad, and then now display ads are invisible to us, right? I think about this too, even two years ago, before COVID stuff, so really 3 years ago, I guess, only some companies had access to tools that would mass email people in a sequence of like email 1, 2, 3, 4. Over COVID, everybody got these tools. And they went down market so that anybody like you and me could have access to them at lower prices. And so everybody in the planet was getting blasted with email sequences. But instead of being from like big marketing teams at cool companies, it was like everybody. So they started marking them as spam. And so now they're not working. So now that would have taken probably another 5 years to ultimately happen, but it was sped up because of COVID and because more people are getting involved. So the same thing is going to be happening here where like, influencers 3 years ago on Instagram, you're like, wow, they really like that product. That's cool. Now you're like, that's some BS. They're getting paid by that company. So we just need to continue to shift how we do what we do. And there'll be new tools always to help stay ahead of the curve. I mean, I'm thinking about even what I do with Outbound. 2 years ago, it was just write an email. And now I've got to add 100 levels of personalization to that email. A year ago, you could do videos. And now there's AI created videos that are personalized. So it's just going to be shifting over time, but just shifting much faster.
Is going back to more old school personalization, is that going to be a lost art? I can't believe how many people, are all about text and emails, this and that, and they're shocked if I leave them a voice note. They're shocked if I leave them a video. They're shocked if you do that personal touch. Will people like us be in a little bit more demand, considering the fact that now everything's point, click, scroll through your social media, and it's impersonal? Is that old method, does it help at all still?
Well, what's interesting about this is I do believe that more personalization will become even more important. But really, when we talk about personalization, what everybody's looking for, the first thing people are filtering for when you're interacting with them is this a robot? Is this automated? That's why the voice note is so good, because that doesn't exist yet for that to be automated. That's why videos were so good a couple of years ago. But now the videos can be automated. That's why emails were good a long time ago, but now emails can be automated. So yes, the personal touch is important, but it's not even so much the personalness of it. It's the passing the filter of, is this a robot? So one thing that I'm doing, for example, is everybody, when they're writing emails, they go to a Zoom info or wherever to get people's information. They use it to customize the email. So it says, hi, first name. I know that you're the insert title at insert company. And one of the things I'm doing is before I upload folks into a system to do that, I'm shortening the company names to just the initials, because in Zoom info, Clean Canteen is in as like Clean Canteen or Clean Canteen Inc. But internally at Clean Canteen, they probably refer to themselves as KK. So now when I reach out, I'm going to say like, hey, Tom, you're the CEO over at KK. That's to help pass through the, are you a robot? And that's what's going to be really important. Finally, what we can see here is, because things are getting more and more less personal, things that you do that are only kind of personal make a bigger impact. So there's handwritten notes and voice notes, and even like texting, I'm cool too. Videos, anything that you can do that's semi-personal feels really personal. But at the same time, there's companies out there that are automating personalness. There's companies that'll write handwritten notes for you that are custom.
My mentor, who's in the business, I've known her for over 10 years, and she's a huge handwriter note on everything, right? And I just did a video the other day. I'm a customer of First Form. I don't have a part of them. I don't get paid by them or anything. I don't spend a ton of money on them. Every couple of months, I'll buy some supplements, and they send handwritten notes, and it's a huge company. And I'm like, this makes all the difference. What I wanted to ask you was about analysis paralysis. Read this book, listen to this podcast, or all this. Somebody who comes in and wants to be good at sales, is it important that they pull the trigger, get on the phone, and make mistakes? And specifically the phone, I'm asking because it's easy to write a text. Again, I don't know how old you are, but I came from the day where you had to ask a girl out face to face. And one of the best things on the planet was the rejection, because you realized, oh my God, I survived. You got the adrenaline dump, you went in, you got rejected, and you're like, I learned from it. Now it's, you send a text, and then there's no face to face, there's no nonverbal cues, and you don't feel anything. You really don't. So many people I know, when it comes down to network marketing, the phone weighs like 1,000 pounds. They can't pick it up, they can't call, but they will listen to their favorite podcaster. They'll listen to your content. They'll take pages and pages of notes, but they won't do anything. How important is it to actually act versus learn? And do you actually learn in the acting process?
Great question. First, if your learning is important, but you need to translate that learning into something that you can actually do on call. So I'm 38, just turned 38 yesterday. I have a call script that I use. I mean, it's really more of an outline, but it's when you're on a call, you know how it is. You're juggling in your brain. What's like invisible to the prospect is I'm trying to remember everything I know about you. Remember all the things I want to say to you, listen to what you're saying, and now make adjustments to what I want to say. Also hear the 10 videos I recently watched and put those in here. And then all of that's happening, all for me just to go, cool. But when you have, if you can take the content that you've learned and turn it into something you can use on a call, so you can look quick down and go, oh yeah, hey, quick question. That is what's going to allow you to turn that learning into action that actually works. Because too often people are like, I took great notes, and I'm like, great. Can you do anything on a call, or are you just going to panic and call it like you would otherwise? That's one. Number two, yes, you need to get on the phone. Yes, you need to absolutely talk to people. There is something human when you talk to someone and you feel the rejection or you feel the nonverbal cues that help you realize where your mistakes are. Because even the amount of times as a manager, I've like rewritten a deck or script for a team or whatever. And I'm like, this is perfect. And then you get in the phone and you're like, that does not work. Because you're like, it just is a little bit different on the phone. So it's really, really important to take action. I can't agree more. That said, I will add one caveat, which is you need to communicate to people how they want to be communicated with. So if I'm selling to Gen Z or even millennials, my generation, I would prefer a text. I've done plenty of deals for software companies that I bought over text. And I'll even say, just text me, man, or send me voice notes, because it's so much easier than like logging in, having a phone call, scheduling time. Like, why are we doing this? Just text me. Where it may be against what you want to do because you want to talk to me, but we're still getting nonverbal cues the same way that we have historically over the last 10 years in texting. But yes, you need to get on the phone, people, 100%.
Yeah, growth is uncomfortable. One of my favorite sayings is the only person who likes change is a wet baby. And I look back at, when you go back to the sales type of personality, I know that I learned through mistakes. And no, I couldn't show up to a scene with an 80-something-year-old woman and say, sit down, shut the fuck up, and put your hands behind your back. You had to talk the way that you needed to talk to. Certain cultures have certain personalities that you can't talk to. I've said this a million times. You could not walk up to a Hispanic father. The town we worked at was predominantly Hispanic, and you could not walk up to a Hispanic father in front of his family, and you couldn't act tough because that was disrespect. If you wanted to show that man, to get that man's conversation with you, you had to show respect to him and converse with him and treat him like an adult. So,
interesting.
Well, in this aspect of it, that's how I know so many cops are shitty at what they do, because there's that saying, when you look like a hammer, when you're a hammer, everything looks like a nail. And that goes back to my earlier question of adopting styles. I do know that I have that, but I got that from everything I went through in life. I don't know. Is it we're born with a sales personality and we kind of cultivate it as we go? Or can you take an introvert and they could learn to sell and they could learn to do what we do? Most people will look at a personality like yours and they're gravitated in because you've got great energy, you're extremely confident, but you're not arrogant about what you do. So that's one of the reasons I like your content is you clearly care about the message you're delivering. Can anybody become like this, or does it just take certain types of outgoing personalities?
I love the question, and actually, I just posted about it recently, which is who's the best salesperson, an introvert or an extrovert? And the answer is it's quiet extroverts. I went through all the sales reps that I've ever managed, and I find it's people that are comfortable talking and having confidence in how they talk, and they have a drive to win in some capacity. That drive to win may be to win personally, and it may be to win by helping somebody, and it may be to win to get someone's approval, but there's some sort of drive to win. And I think that those drives are what makes extroverts a lot of times. We to get people to like us, we want to talk more. To get someone to feel good about themselves, we want to talk more. To get whatever. But we're the quiet ones, because there's a level of extroversion and confidence is quiet extroversion. Extroversion and insecurity is loud extroversion. These are the people that think they're trying to act bigger than they actually really feel, and so it's inauthentic, and they typically don't do well. So I think the real question is, you need to think: am I introverted, but I'm comfortable talking with people? I just prefer not to. Am I extroverted, but am I actually extroverted? Or am I just sort of almost faking it? Because if I'm almost sort of faking it, or I overdo it, or I'm just insecure and that's why I'm extroverted, then you're actually going to do worse. Because if you're insecure and extroverted, that means that you're putting out a lot of sensors out there, those sensors being conversations and words. And if people are not responding, I like you, I love you, I got to have you, you're getting 100 sensors of you're bad, you're bad, you're bad, which makes you more insecure, which makes you more extroverted and fake and all of that. So it's quiet extroverts that do well, but I've had plenty of introverted folks who have done really well, because they just approach it from a different angle of not, I want to win. It's, I want to really help these people out. Like, I see a problem here, and I gotta solve it. Like, what they're doing doesn't make any sense. They got to do it this way. And then everything in the web's going to be so much better. And they kind of have this dissonance between what they're doing, what they should be doing, and it's uncomfortable. So they want to talk about it.
I've been through every one of those stages you just addressed. I know I'm a high functioning introvert.
Me too.
Yeah. The second the camera goes off, I'm quiet. It's like whenever the camera is on, I'm on. That's it. And you're talking about that. I've been there. I want to parallel this. Does this go into an age factor? Meaning, when I was younger, before I became a cop, I worked in a bar, and I was a bartender. And one of the greatest bits of advice I ever got was from a ranger, an Army Ranger. He was working with me. I'm a shorter man. I'm 5'7", and I used to use self-deprecating humor so bad to overcompensate for my insecurities. Right, taller guys. Yeah. You see the big guy at the bar with the hot girl, and then you're starting to think maybe she's with him because she's tall. All this, and his name is Maurice. Totally. Maurice pulled me aside at the end of a night after a shift, and he goes, "Dude, you are fucking with my income." And I said, "What do you mean?" He goes, "Every time you rip on yourself, you lessen your value. People don't take you seriously. They're not going to tip you. We split tips." And I went, "Holy shit." And he goes, "Every time you set foot behind this bar, you are 6'5". Leave it alone. That went the other direction. So now I'm in my early 20s. I got an ego the size of Montana because I'm behind a bar and I'm commanding presence and all this.
Totally.
So I went through all these stages to where it wasn't until I was in my 40s that everything leveled off, and I could exude confidence without being cocky. I could be loud without being mistaken as being angry all the time. Is age a factor in sales? Can a 21-year-old jump in the scene and start outselling everybody, or will his age or her age prevent them from being taken seriously? Or is it an older person's game? So I guess the question is age, maturity, and also gender. Do males or females, which one's taken seriously, which one's a better salesperson? Are any of these factors contributing factors?
Sure. So age would matter to some extent, just in terms of being, if a 14-year-old is trying to tell me about how I can make money, I'm like, you don't have enough experiences in your life to dictate that knowledge, right? Or if I have some 100-year-old tell me about how AI is going to work, I'm like, I feel like I probably know more, I have more experience. I'm closer to that, right? So, but that's only on the extremes. Outside of the extremes, no, absolutely not. Because where it makes a difference is emotional intelligence. So there's plenty of people that are in high school right now that are way less insecure and confident and comfortable with themselves than I am. And I'm way more confident, comfortable, than people that are 70, right? So it's really more just the emotional intelligence, less the actual number. outside of like physical numbers, like the world needs to spin enough times for you to have the experience of knowing something. As for gender, I really don't see anything. I've not seen a single, like I even I've looked at all my top reps. Is it 50-50? I don't know if it's 50-50 men and women, but I think that's more of like a bias in hiring and, the bias of the role. But really not at all. I find that a lot of times it's just a different approach. So guys will come after it and, we're I found, but not always, we're very competitive. I think we all have, like guys have this like built-in insecurity around like needing to win because like the guys around us are all jockeying for position or whatever. But so we come at it from a more competitive angle. And I find that women that I've managed, they come at sales from a more like practical level. They're just like, this is how it should be. Like they're very organized. And I've seen plenty of dudes that stink and plenty of women that stink. So no, nothing for gender, nothing for age, except for the extremes.
Yeah, the one thing I don't like is the network marketing industry, and I've said this publicly. It has a 97% failure rate, and about 90 plus people, the percentage of people going into it involved is women. And I don't like the way that women are taught. Women are not taught their assertive aspect of it. That's a bias that, I really want to dive into the psychology of it. The last few minutes, I want to solve some problems. First off, plug everything. How can people work with you? How can they follow your content? How can they wind up connecting with you and supporting you?
Yeah. So every single thing that I do, I want you to be able to get a value from immediately on the next phone call that you have, the next email you write. So if you're a rep of some kind, you go to tinyurl.com/official sales templates. It has everything: scripts, emails, courses, products, everything you could possibly need. If you're a leader or you're looking to become a leader, the same place, tinyurl.com/official sales templates. It's a manager checklist, a VP of sales, 90-day checklist, everything you could possibly need to become a good manager. And if you're an owner of a business or someone who wants to grow outbound, so you want leads and you want to have a script or a sales process that you can duplicate, I do that for businesses. And for that, you would just go to tinyurl.com/official, tinyurl.com/sales Mike to book time with me. Find me anywhere on social media at Official Sales Tips. On TikTok, I'm Official Sales Tips or Official Sales Leader Tips.
Follow his content. I take notes off of his content, and I have no problem admitting I follow your stuff like crazy. I mean, your stuff helps. Oh, 100%.
I appreciate it.
You have to. I seek people who are experts in their field, and I want somebody who is far better than I am because it is competitive. I want to be better than Mike, so I got to follow your stuff and put it in.
Totally.
All right, let's solve some problems in the last minute. Give me
cool.
Give me one or two things that you really want to pioneer a change in or make the industry better, or you're working on, or kind of evolving into the next step. What's the next step for you and everything?
Yeah. So one of the next steps for me is taking all of the sales knowledge that exists, curating it, and putting it into actionable ways so that people can get not just from me taking the challenger sale and turning it into a script, but what about all the other sales leaders out there? What about all the other sales content? How do I turn that from books and videos and methodologies into simple things that people can have access to? So I want to make all the sales content in the world more accessible and more actionable. That's the biggest thing I'm working on right now.
Well, fantastic. I want to have more conversations with you in the future. I really appreciate your time for this. I'm going to have to go back to this and start taking notes, especially for leadership. Leadership is a big one.
Totally.
I want, sometimes like I want more for other people, and I'm like, man, if you would just X, Y, and Z, but even at this stage in the game, I have a hard time thinking that if I change my ways, if I soften up a little bit, if I meet people where they are, you hear that all the time, it's going to benefit them and me. My biggest problem is I think that if I change, that it's compensating or not compensating, it's compromising, and that compromise will devalue me, and that's a big psychological problem I have with my teams and everything. So I'm glad.
Well, you know the answer now. I mean, it's set the expectations, set hard numbers that make it really clear what you expect them to do, and use the coaching method to make sure that they do it without having to be pushing. Although if the person's motivated by pushing, you know exactly how to do it.
Well, Mike, I appreciate your time. Guys, make sure you check out
You're
Mike
the best.
Manzi at Official Sales Leader Tips. Seriously, I've been waiting for this one for a while. All right, we'll see you guys in the next episode of that's another one. Bull of MLM, Network Marketing Warfare. See you guys later on.
Take it easy.